COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education, remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, and engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times with a BELCP in place, supported by an unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals. Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which will leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's national center for teacher education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
Sino ba ang hindi naapektuhan? Sino ba ang hindi nag-alala? Sino ba ang hindi nalito? Lahat tayo ay naapektuhan. Lahat tayo ay nag-aalala. Lahat tayo ay nalito. Dahil binago ng pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19, ang paraan ng pamumuhay ng lahat ng mga Pilipino saan mang sektor ka nabibilang. Tumigil ang panandalian ang ating mga nakagawian. Tumigil ang lahat ng uri ng transaksyon. Tumigil ang lahat ng operasyon ng mga paaralan. Nakalilito. Nakakaba. Paano na ang kinabukasan ng mga kabataan? Paano na tayo sa hinaharap? Opisyal na nilulunsad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ng Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction ang DepEd Teaches. Ito ay isang online na programa na gagabay sa mga guro, tagapangasiwa, magulang at mag-aaral hinggil sa mga pagbabago sa batayang edukasyon ngayong new normal. Ang DepEd Teaches ay angkla sa sulong edukalidad na nakatuon sa apat na pangunahing pangangailangan ng mapunyaging reforma tungo sa makalidad na pagtuturo at pagkatuto. Una, pagre-review at pagsasapanahon ng kurikulum ng K-12. Ikalawa, pagpapaunlad ng kapaligirang pampagkatuto. Ikatlo, paglinang ng mga bagong kasanayan sa mga guro. At ang ikaapat, ang pakikipag-ugnay sa mga stakeholder para sa suporta at kolaborasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng virtual learning platform, ang DepEd Teaches ang magsisilbing bukas na komunidad ng pagsasanay na titipon sa mga guro, tagapamunong pang-edukasyon at sa sinumang may pagnanais sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa at sa pagtagumpay ng bawat Filipinong mag-aaral. Ang mga opisyal, education specialist, learning content expert at outstanding teacher ng DepEd ang magiging tagapanayam na magbabahagi ng kanilang kaalaman at kasanayan sa kurikulum, pagtuturo at pagkatuto, pagtataya at lahat ng kaugnay na mahalaga sa proseso ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto sa new normal. Bilang mga frontliner ng classroom, inaasahang magiging aktibo ang mga guro sa programang ito. Ang mga tema at paksa ay angkop sa kanilang pangangailangan at konteksto sa pamamagitan ng accessible na platform, ang social media. Sumali na sa OUCI family sa DepEd Teaches, kung sama-sama mapahuhusay pa ang mga guro, kung sama-sama higit na malilinang natin ang mga mag-aaral.
Belated Happy World Teachers Day! Last October 5, we have just had a special celebration for all the teachers out there. It may not always be said, but I know our dear students mean it whenever they say it. So thank you, teachers, for all the things that you have done for our learners. Thank you, teachers, for being the frontliners in the education. Thank you, teachers, for being always supportive of the programs and initiative of the Department of Education. And thank you to all our avid viewers, none other than our teachers here on DepEd Teaches. So welcome back to our 39th episode today. We are live streamed in the various social media platforms like the DepEd Philippines Facebook page, DepEd Tayo, and DepEd YouTube channel. For those who have just watching us through our channels, we invite you to visit, like, follow, and share our official Facebook page, the DepEd Teaches, where you can view and share as well the past recordings and learn from the best and brilliant speakers that we had. Okay, so let's get down to business now. Hello, Ma'am Anna. Good afternoon and belated Happy Teacher's Day to you. So what are the things that we have prepared for our audience today?
Pleasant afternoon, everyone, and belated Happy Teacher's Day. So, wishing a very happy and peaceful month of October to all our DepEd Teaches viewers. Sir July, this new month brings forward another opportunity to make things better and more exciting to all of us as we welcome a new theme exclusive only here on DepEd Teaches. All our discussions are anchored on the theme teaching and learning in the new normal, trends and innovations. Sounds exciting, right? So we have 4 episodes this October where we are blessed that our speakers are our external partners in the field coming from reputable institutions. And since we are teaching and learning in the new normal, it's just logical and timely that we make some changes in how things are done. We introduce new practices. And so let's be open minded to these big and small changes. And I know that some of us might be afraid or scared of these changes, but you know what is more frightening? Allowing fear to stop us from growing, improving, and progressing.
I couldn't agree more to that, Ma'am Anna. The secret of change is to focus our energy by not completely abandoning the past or fighting the old ways, but we are here to build the new one. New ways of learning, new ways of understanding things, new ways of communication, new ways of instruction. And the reality is that, like in any other sector, the pandemic has had a significant impact on the education sector and provided a much needed impetus for digitization. It actually has transformed the education system drastically and has brought the paradigm shift in teaching and learning methodologies, compelling educational institutions across the globe to reimagine traditional classroom learning and transition to distance learning delivery modalities to provide uninterrupted access to education and knowledge.
Exactly, Sir July. And that's the goal of our basic education learning continuity plan to ensure learning continuity through K to 12 curriculum adjustment, production of new and varied learning resources, deployment of multiple learning delivery modalities, and of course, stronger partnership with the families and communities. And in today's episode, we will talk about one emerging modality that is designing HyFlex Learning Experience. Now, Sir July, let me ask you, does this HyFlex ring a bell to you?
Well, honestly, I might have little understanding about HyFlex, but from its word formation, it seems a blending of the words hybrid and flexibility. And those two, hybrid and flexibility, are the ones that we see right now as we navigate the learning in the new normal. And in today's discussion, we are fortunate that we have a very good resource speaker who will shed some lights on how we design a high flex learning. But before we reveal our resource speaker today, we will have again another short warm-up activity where we will activate our prior knowledge and we see how familiar are we in the concepts related to learning delivery modalities. So as usual, we will give you, our viewers, 30 seconds to guess the correct answer and key in your answer in the comment section of our Facebook live streaming page. Okay, Ma'am Anna, I think we can now start.
All right, so thank you for that clear instruction, Sir July. So for question number 1, let us show the card, please. Okay, so let me read to you the question. This refers to an alternative learning delivery mode that provides learners with access to formal education while staying in an out-of-school environment with parents, guardians, or tutors as authorized facilitators instead of classroom teachers. Who can guess among our viewers this kind of alternative learning delivery mode? You have 30 seconds to share your answer with us. All right, so let's find out the answer. An alternative learning delivery mode that provides learners with access to formal education while staying in an out-of-school environment with parents, guardians, or tutors as authorized facilitators. The correct answer is homeschooling. I hope you got it correctly. So keep in mind that in homeschooling requires the child to be officially enrolled in a recognized homeschool provider, either public or private school. And this doesn't preclude going to school on specific periods to develop learning competence that require the use of laboratory, equipment, and others. So it uses any or a combination of the various learning delivery modalities. And even before this new normal, we already have homeschooling program in the department.
That's correct, Ma'am Ana. No? We have already homeschooling as an option, even during the pre-COVID time as an alternative delivery modality. And we are now strengthening this modality in this new normal education. All right, so for our second item, let us show now the card. So this refers to a learning delivery modality using a combination of the features of the face-to-face learning and distance learning. Again, this refers to a learning delivery modality using a combination of the features of the face-to-face learning and distance learning. Okay, so for 30 seconds, you can now key in your answer in our comment section. All right, so we can now reveal the answer to this item. So again, this refers to the learning delivery modality using the combination of the features of the face-to-face learning and distance learning. The answer here is blended learning or blended distance learning. So here in the Department of Education, we promote and we are intensifying our plans to implement blended learning. In our adoption of this modality, our blended learning can be 1, face-to-face and modular distance learning, 2, face-to-face and online distance learning, 3, face-to-face or and TV-based instruction or radio-based instruction, or 4th, face-to-face or any combination of the other types of distance learning. Hence, blended learning means combination of various distance learning modalities with face-to-face as a default modality. On the other hand, blended distance learning combines distance learning modalities such as the online, modular, TV, and radio-based instruction without the face-to-face modality.
Excellent, Sir July. So that's the positive impact of this pandemic. We've experienced major transformations on how we deliver instruction, and we're able to design and reimagine various learning delivery modalities. Okay, so for the next question, this one I think is a popular term related to blended learning. Let's see if our viewers can guess the correct answer. Please show the third question. So this is a blended learning model in which traditional ideas about classroom activities and homework are reversed. In this model, instructors have students interact with new material for homework first, then they use class time to discuss the new information and put those ideas into practice. So I think the clue here is classroom activities and homework are reversed. Okay, so let's see if you can guess this type of blended learning modality. You have 30 seconds to share your answer with us. Okay, so let's find out. The correct answer is flip classroom. And I saw some of our viewers, they're able to get the correct answer. So true flip learning is about opening up class time and transforming it into hands-on, differentiated, and even personalized learning experiences. So the benefits of this model include giving students more control over their education, promoting student-centered learning and collaboration, and offering access to lessons at home. Well, of course, there are drawbacks of this model. This include the creation of digital divide, perhaps reliance on student preparation and trust, and increased time spent in front of screen versus people or places.
That's great, Ma'am Anna. And I think flipped classroom will be one of the most promising setup when we go back again to the usual face-to-face instruction. Okay, now for our last and final item. Please show us the description or the card for this item. The blending of both asynchronous and synchronous online learning, where students can participate in anytime, anywhere learning during the asynchronous parts of the course, but then participate in real-time activities for the synchronous session. So again, I think the clue here is the blending of both the synchronous and asynchronous online learning. So we would now be giving our participants, our viewers, 30 seconds to key in your answer in our comment section. All right, so I think we can now reveal the answer to our viewers. I hope you got the answer correctly. So the answer here, as the blending of both asynchronous and synchronous online learning, is what we call the bichronous online learning. So in bichronous online learning, it provides students the best of both online delivery methods, where they can participate in anytime, anywhere, we're learning during the asynchronous parts of the course, but also engage in our real-time conversations for the synchronous sessions. This gives them the flexibility to learn at their own pace while they are providing the opportunity for immediate feedback and interaction. Instructional materials such as the readings and the videos can be shared in the asynchronous online format, and the more interactive activities such as a real-time discussion, student presentations, exam reviews, Q&A sessions can be done all during the online synchronous sessions. All right, so what we have asked you are just few of the models or learning delivery modalities like the homeschooling, blended distance learning, flipped classroom, and the bichronous learning. And for sure, there are other learning modalities or models that you are familiar with. But today, we will focus only on a particular model, the HyFlex Learning, which we will be discussing discussed by our esteemed resource speaker. So without much further ado, we humbly present to you our resource speaker.
Dr. Edizon A Fermin is the founder of EdSpeaks, a professional development group that focuses on adaptive, innovative, and resilient education. He is currently the Vice President for Academic Affairs of the National Teachers College, which was acquired by Ayala Corporation Education in 2018. He formerly served Miriam College from 2000 up to 2018 in various capacities such as Director for Innovation Development, Director for Basic Education, and High School Principal. He holds a bachelor's degree in secondary education, major in English, minor in Filipino, magna cum laude, a master's degree in teaching English as a second language, and a doctoral degree in Filipino language, planning, and policy, all from the University of the Philippines in Diliman. He received the UP Gawad Chancellor bilang pinakamahusay na di-graduadong mag-aaral ng sektor ng batas at agham panlipunan in 2000, and the Miriam College President's Award for Research in 2005 and 2010. In June 2014, he was chosen as the youngest recipient of the Professional Achievement Award of the University of the Philippines College of Education Alumni Association for his scholarly work on evidence-based teaching practices. In 2016, he became the first recipient of the Oscar M. Lopez Award for Transformative Educational Leadership. In 2017, he received the Outstanding Alumnus Award in Basic Education from the Nueva Ecija University of Science and Technology, where he graduated valedictorian in 1996.
Also, he has written and refereed articles, delivered lectures, and facilitated trainings concerning e-learning, literacy, teacher education, social linguistics, student affairs program development, and curriculum development in various parts of the country and overseas. He published research. He's a published researcher and national trainer in learner-centered, outcome-based education. He has trained teachers and education leaders from preschool to tertiary levels and even technical and vocational schools. He continues to work with British Council and the CHED International Affairs staff in developing policies and practice in pathways in transnational education and adult education, especially in terms of quality assurance. In 2019, he completed his training in equitable access to education as a scholar of the Asia-Europe Foundation at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. He was also a member of the Department of Education's Technical Working Group on the K-12 curriculum as a member of the Learning Area Team for Languages, the National Basic Education and Higher Education Commissions of the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, or the CEAP. He is also currently the co-chair of the Commission on Higher Education's Technical Panel in Teacher Education and the chief consultant of the National Executive Course for Education Leaders, or the EXEL, in Senior High School of the Private Educational Assistance Committee. In responding to the complex educational implications of the recent COVID-19 pandemic, he currently provides experts advice to the CHED Technical Working Group on the continuity of inclusive education through appropriate flexible learning options. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice President for Academic Affairs of the National Teachers College, none other than Dr. Edizon Angeles Fermin.
Mabuhay. I am Fermin, the Vice President for Academic Affairs of National Teachers College. I would like to thank the Department of Education for this opportunity to share my thoughts on how we can design and deliver HyFlex Learning Experiences. In the slides that I'll be sharing with you today, I hope that you will gain insight not only into the principles and processes involved in the management of HyFlex learning, but I really hope that you'd be able to see yourselves also performing the role of teachers who are innovators and adaptive agents in the course of transitioning to what we call the new normal. You see, the story of our transition to that illustrious sense of the new normal all started with the fact that this pandemic rewired all of us. And as we have experienced, it is indeed true that the end of schooling, as we know it, has finally started. And what do we mean by the end of schooling here? It's the end of everything that we associate about pre-COVID-19 instruction. And as far as the concept of pre-COVID-19 instruction is concerned, you would know that we are talking about a lot of shifts. Before COVID-19, our direction was actually to look at an entire stretch of learning competencies. But now we are so much focused on a set of most essential learning competencies, which we have fondly called as MELCs. Whereas before, learning design was really around almost endless content. Now we are dealing with learning design around limited or rationalized content. But that doesn't mean that we are sacrificing the quality. As we move along, we'll try to understand how our understanding of teacher-driven learning experiences before COVID-19 really shifted towards what we mean by learner-driven learning experiences. After all, in non-residential and remote learning experiences, the learners are expected to really perform a lot of things on his or her own. Of course, we know the little issues about parents trying to change that expectation, but what can we do? We are all adjusting. But take note that before COVID-19, where assessments were so heavily focused on content, now we are dealing with a lot of experience-focused assessments. And that is why I am telling you in advance, please make sure that you will get tuned in to the next episodes of DepEd Teaches, where you will find more information about the shift from content-focused assessments to experience-focused assessments. Now, moving on to the next part of what I'd like to share with you, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization recently declared that everyone will need an extra 101 days of learning by 2022. Why is this so crucial for us to think through? That's because while we are going to attend to the next set of expected learning outcomes, we will be doing a lot of simultaneous catching up. Admittedly, there were things lost during the transition to all forms of flexible learning. And given the fact that we have a lot of disparities in terms of accessing resources for flexible learning, it is imperative for us to be mindful that certain needs and realities will need to be accounted for insofar as the quantity and quality of learning are both concerned. But I'd like to put forward the message that despite this reality, we must see to it that everyone understands the necessity for our learning communities to become more live and living. And I'm using here the word live in the sense that we are accessible, connected, and most importantly, visible despite and in spite of the distance and other circumstances influencing the kind of interactions that we have. But more than being live, I also want us to look at HyFlex learning as an opportunity to experience more living despite all the challenges that we are dealing with. Now, for a moment, I'd like you to pause and reflect with me as we look at the experience of teacher Rob. On the screen, I'm showing you how a normal day in the life of a HyFlex teacher looks like. Here, you are seeing teacher Rob actually prompting his students that they have already completed a set of modules. Those modules can be the ones that you and I have prepared over the last year. And thank God we managed to facilitate the continuity of learning, again, despite the odds. I'm sure that you have a lot of stories to tell as to how we are distributing and collecting those modules back. But you see, the discourse of Teacher Rock doesn't end with the fact that there were requirements to deal with. He was also prompting the students. There are new things that are coming up, and there's a sync session that's coming up. But the kind of wording and expression that you have here tells you that there's so much live connection happening between the teacher and the students. Of course, you can have your own examples to articulate given this illustration that I have, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that all the more that the presence of the teacher, despite virtually and remotely dealing with our students, it's there. It's very much felt. It's very much live, alive. But this needs to be balanced, as I was saying earlier, with the capacity to become more living. And here, my intention is actually to illustrate to you exactly what we mean by being more living. Here is Teacher Joyce, who's saying that her students technically has options to choose from in terms of demonstrating the expected learning outcomes in her class. But there's an important element to this discourse that makes it special. Look at the second sentence, which says, or the third sentence rather, note that they are best done with some of your family members. The truth of the matter is that when we now talk about places of learning, within those places, particularly the homes where our students are based, everyone else learns. And everyone, for the sake of the children, will need to pitch in and place a little effort on how they can be of assistance. After all, it doesn't only take a family, but an entire village to raise a child. But here, what I like about Teacher's Joy's disposition is that learning does not rest upon the learners alone, but on the other people involved in the life of the child. And so, what was her ultimate reminder? Have fun with them. And this gives us a better sense of living with the fact that the education landscape has been altered forever. You know, in Teacher's Joy's vision, the kind of home-based learning projects that she has are things that are really fun to do, yet are very much connected to the kind of learning competencies that everyone else in the department would like to achieve. For example, on the screen, you're seeing 4 different types of home-based learning projects. In the first picture, you are seeing a child doing her own version of a robot. But technically, the resources that she was asked to put together by her teacher, even in remote setup, are things naturally found at home. And you can easily surmise that in pre-COVID-19, you can actually see this girl demonstrating how this robot works with her classmates in attendance, but now she can do it by showing it on a virtual learning or meeting platform such as Zoom or Google Meet and other available learning platforms. And then you have here magical trees, where kids were asked, if you are going to show me your own version of a magical tree, it was based on a story that was read virtually by the teacher to the students. then they could explore again how the resources at home can aid in the process of extending imaginative thinking among our children. The third will be the production of prints using available resources also at home, such as vegetable prints or whatever coloring resources are available. And this gets to become an opportunity not only for them to exercise their creative faculties, but more importantly, their expressive faculties. But the last one is what I love the most. When kids, along with their parents and siblings, prepare the best sandwich that they can experiment on. And again, underneath these home-based learning projects are opportunities for the students to slowly articulate that they can do things, they can connect with the learning outcomes, which sometimes we academify so much that in recent months we were able to translate into fun experiences. Take note that more of these learning opportunities will need to be designed as we transition in making our COVID-19 BFFs transition better to the new normal. I define the BFFs as learners who have become bored, physically, and frustrated. They demand a different set of experiences, especially that the limitations that they are suffering from right now impact on the kind of engagement that they have in this current learning scenario. And on the part of learned people, the education specialists whom we are trusting can develop new solutions and approaches to the learning environment that we have right now. We have seen the rise of learner experience design in recent months, capitalizing on principles of user experience, which applies directly to the kind of digital and online resources available. And of course, there is instructional design, which is very much germane to the education space. But what governs learner experience design, particularly in the context that we are dealing with? This is how I arrived at an initial working definition of what flexible learning is like. And by flexible learning, we are referring to two things. One is the design, and the other is the delivery of number one, entire programs, like the entire grade 6 program. Or you can look at courses or subjects within each of those grade level programs. Or you could talk about interventions for specific types of learners for specific courses in a particular learning program. But the condition here says that these are the things that address learners' unique needs in terms of four conditions. And these four conditions, I tell you, my dear colleagues out there, will be the ones that we will seriously zoom into because they will rapidly govern the changing nature of HyFlex learning. These are ways, ways, process, and products of learning. Why should we concentrate on changes in pace of learning? It's precisely because 24/7 access to learning will become a strong need. There are learners who would like that learning takes place at the time when they are really wide awake. And we know for sure that some kids are still so sleepy early in the morning and they become more productive sometime during the middle part of the day. So, am I saying that we put away that conscious effort to create a schedule that from 7 to 8:30, it's going to be maths, and then from 9 to whatever, it's going to be science, and so on and so forth. I tell you, yes. Because while routines are good, you need to understand that from the vantage point of a learner, there are other considerations that have to be met, including the time when they really are awake, to be factored in the quality of learning experience that they need to go through. Then you have the consideration for place. I bet that non-residential learning will be favored by more student groups eventually. Well, yes, we could argue that psychosocial needs are met when you are in a physical environment. That can happen. But learners and their parents, particularly those in basic education, would realize if you can actually satisfy conditions of learning, even if you're not within a physical setup, that's good because it's cost effective in so many respects. But it's going to be that important consideration to maybe consider X amount of time for non-residential learning and X amount of time for in-house and face-to-face learning. And I think this is something that will likely going to surface when all this is over. Of course, the next P is central to all our preparations also. For a long time, we have gotten used to pedagogy and andragogy as the existing framework for looking at how people learn. But now, we have seen the emergence of processes such as pedagogy or self-determined learning or self-paced learning. There is cybergogy, where you actually look at the affordances of cyberspace and the virtual space to enhance the quality of learner experience and interaction. And not forgetting pedagogy. With all these learning and meeting platforms emerging, you will find out that learning from peers has never become much more meaningful and accessible than it is now. And I tell you, these things are going to prevail as we transition further into better days, hopefully, for the education sector. But please don't forget, we are all concerned with the outcomes and products of learning as well. In this consideration or dimension, we will need to see learners engaging better because there are several options for demonstrating their acquired knowledge, skills, attitudes, and other metrics or indicators of learning. And for such reason, if they're able to exercise the power of their choice or the power to choose rather, then we can readily say that it's not just a new normal that we are preparing for. The World Economic Forum was right in saying we are really shifting towards a new paradigm and not just a new normal. And as far as I am concerned, along with my colleagues at National Teachers College, as a teacher education institution founded 93 years ago, we believe that it's not just flexible learning that's likely going to surface, but the new lens that we will use to examine the exciting changes in the education sector. We now are approaching, or technically we are in a state of hybrid and hyper flexible learning. Thus the term HyFlex learning. Take note, in HyFlex learning, you will all need to rapidly adjust learning provisions to focus on only three things: essential outcomes, the competencies we expect our students to demonstrate, and then the largest consideration would be essential experiences. Forget about the good harms that in pre-COVID-19, we all love to really put in the experience because we just don't have the luxury of integrating them given the various circumstances of our learners. But what bridges outcomes towards exciting learning experiences will be the focus on what I will describe as essential content, which is defined as an inch long but a mile deep content. Take note, the rise of ubiquitous learning will tell you that content can be accessed anytime, anywhere. That's why sometimes if you keep your students glued to a textbook, an article, or voluminous set of reading materials, they will disengage because these learners are acquiring content rather differently. They love to see videos. They love to hear songs and so on and so forth. But of course, we need to perform our role as literacy experts also. So we need to expose them with a variety of content resources. But our goal in HyFlex Learning will be to ultimately promote learner control and the customizability of learning. And this is why we should all praise the Department of Education and, of course, all of you, my colleagues, who are technically off to a good start by integrating the three essential things that I have discussed using the most essential learning competencies matrix. For so long, we're saying that we have convoluted the curriculum with too many unnecessary stuff. The pandemic has actually pushed all of us to look at which ones will really matter. And I believe that essentialism, the way people are trying to rediscover it in the context of the pandemic, has really given us more impetus to look at the value of the meals. In the next few minutes, what I'd like us to look at would be an example HyFlex learning design. Particularly for kindergarten, what I did was to call the expected learning competencies from various weeks in the MELC. I love the way the DepEd officials thought about the MELCs as something not entirely sequential, because if you look at the dynamism that happens in flexible learning, you can actually mix and match the competencies related to meaningful learning experiences. In the blue segment of the slide that you're seeing here, it's technically talking about young children's capability to introduce who they are. And then in the orange bars, you will see there some science and writing related competencies. And the green bar gives you their ability to talk about their needs and the way to take care of one's body. But you might be curious, why is there an image of an ID on the screen? Because the creation of an ID is the ultimate learning experiences being given focus in this week of fun learning experiences, where 5 major learning competencies have been articulated and called from the mix. But if you notice, as you move from one day to the next, the design of the learning guide tells you that it's talking not only to the kids, but it's talking more with the other people whom I referred to earlier as knowledgeable others who should be participating in the experience of our emerging HyFlex learners. In this Monday schedule set, you will find out the kid being introduced to the concept of an ID. When Tuesday comes, you'll notice that there is already a sequential set of items here that we would love our children to follow in order to start crafting what you introduce as an important part of their lives as a student, which is the ID. But there's a lot of interaction happening here, and very intimate and personal too. Because remember, pictures can say a lot of stories. By Wednesday, the parent sees to it that the child is capable and is provided with enough resources to start crafting the ID. This is also possible as the component of the first face-to-face encounter within the week, and it happens on the third day. And take note, this is the part where guided learning experiences can really be done in the presence of the teacher more than the parent. Now, this tells you that the teacher has rapidly shifted from not only focusing on remote learning, but there's now a provision for limited face-to-face learning. But if that doesn't happen, the learning guide tells you that it can also be done at home. The production of the ID continues on until Thursday, and here you are now seeing how the child is able to put together the physical ID, its content, its appearance, and so on and so forth. And if conditions actually allow it, from those 4 straight days of being in a remote learning situation, you can now have a real day where the children could come together on site, if not still on sync session mode, where they can talk about how the ID was prepared, how unique his ID was, and so on and so forth. But of course, we all know that there is such a thing as a formal ID, but letting them own this process of creating an alternative ID is not only fun, but also tells them you've got to make sure that the information in your ID is known by the people who matter to you. And take note, in this HyFlex learning experience, the parents and the guardians as knowledgeable others also have a say in the experience. Not that they are going to assign grades, but they will provide helpful observations in the quality of learning that our kids are going through. But of course, they do not have training in educational assessment like all of us do, but we can give them very simple guidelines like a descriptive set of rubrics that you're seeing on the screen. But of course, at the back end, we know that we can assign a value such as 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point for each of these items. At any rate, this is what I mean by the shift before COVID-19 and during COVID-19. It's fun and hopefully frustration-free. For the young learners, let's take a look at the possible higher level classes or experiences. And this time, we're looking at junior high school students experiencing on their own and in the presence of their classmates, even on non-residential mode, what we mean by natural and physical phenomena. Where it is actually a very simple home-based experiment where they get to use easily available resources. The goal here actually is for them to make sure that 2 forks using just a toothpick and a drinking glass can actually reach a point of equilibrium or balance, just like what you're seeing on the screen right now. But when I first tried this out with specialists from the Bureau of Curriculum Development and other DepEd regional offices, I found out that even in remote learning situations, for as long as the design of the experience is okay, all the safety nets can actually be upheld and observed. Because eventually, they set up, you will need to light the toothpick on both ends to find out if there's still going to be some form of balance happening there. And take note, due to the very comprehensive science module developed by the teachers for this, uploaded in the Google Classroom and printed in actual format or paper-based format for some other schools, kids are able to understand the science behind these very simple experiments, such that the experience becomes very straightforward as providing them additional links for learning, providing them the opportunity to reflect, and eventually ask them to get ready to some degree of face-to-face interaction when allowed. Otherwise, they can continue doing it even remotely, but I'm pretty much sure that they will still also recognize that it is very fun and frustration-free. So take note. Eventually, We will all be making tough decisions to rapidly adjust when to do offsite, when to do online, when to do virtual, when to do complete residential learning. As we rapidly make those decisions, the learning design still rests on your ability to consider only three essentials: essential outcomes, essential content, and essential experiences, where in each layer you have a particular objective to meet. And that is directed towards how you envision our HyFlex learners getting and gaining more competence in terms of control and customizing their experiences, so that we can prepare a generation no longer of COVID-19 BFFs, but people I will call as our besties, who are capable of enjoying how we break away from the monotony of everything that is remote or probably inflexible in certain cases, because you have provided mechanisms for them to engage differently, where new rhythms are in place, and where alternative thinking plays a huge role. And the new with it is an inspiring sense of creativity that gives all of us a better sense of what wellness is. At National Teachers College, we call Anglaw. We hope that this transition will become really meaningful for all of us. Kasama niyo po ang tanglaw sa patuloy na pagbibigay ng liwanag upang tayo ay sabay-sabay na makatungo sa bagong normal. Maraming salamat, and I hope that this has become a source of inspiration for you to become our new generation of high-flex educators. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edizon Fermin, for an intellectually stimulating presentation. And I believe our audience has been enlightened on designing HyFlex learning experiences as well as the important factors that teachers need to consider in designing flexible learning. And these are the pace, the place, the process, and the products. And I know our viewers as well indeed took note that in transitioning to HyFlex learning, we must let our BFFs turn into besties. And so to our live audience on Facebook, don't forget to share your insights and comments using the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches and hashtag DepEd Teaches episode 39. You can also share your selfie post while you are listening in today's presentation. And we love to hear all your feedback.
Thank you very much for gracing this event, Dr. Edizon Angeles Fermin. We are looking forward to listening to your presentation again here on DepEd Teaches, and the team is excited to read the feedback and insights from our viewers in our evaluation. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I just love the idea: essential, outcome, content, and experience. So before we end, just few reminders. So you will receive your certificate of participation on a thematic basis. So you have to watch all episodes 39 up to 42, which the theme is about teaching and learning in the new normal, trends and innovations. And two things you must remember, dear viewers: register only, register once. Okay, so on the screen you see right now the registration link, or scan the QR code. And on the last week of October, we will share with you the evaluation. If you've accomplished the registration and you got a 75% passing score, then that's the time you will receive your certificate of appearance and participation. So once again, thank you very much to our very enthusiastic and active audience here on DepEd Teaches. This wraps up our 39th episode.
So on behalf of the curriculum and instruction strand, thank you, dear teachers, for your unwavering support here on DepEd Teaches. And we encourage you to be open to changes. Sometimes change is good, for it may lead to better opportunities. Hence, here on DepEd Teaches, it always about bringing you new and innovative ideas. For our mission is always about empowering teachers, enabling learners. A blessed afternoon, everyone.